Hi everyone, it's Virginia from 13 Design, and I want to thank you so much for being here today for this fun tutorial. We're gonna dare to decoupage. That's right, you can decoupage. It sounds intimidating, it's not. So today we're going to do the make and take mini clipboard kit. So who doesn't love a mini clipboard? A mini anything, right? Super cute. So we're gonna go ahead and open up our kit and see what's inside. We get the mini clipboard, which is wrapped nicely. We're of course going to take the wrapping off. You get a winter themed paper, depending on which one you chose. This one happens to be the cardinal. We also have Earth Angel, the angel wings, and Winter Wonderland with the trees. And then you will also get an applicator brush and your instructions. But we don't need instructions today because you have me right here. Okay, let's get to work. First of all, like I said, you're going to cut off the plastic here. So it's just the protective plastic that keeps the little mini clipboard looking all nice and not banged up. The only thing that's not included in your kit is your decoupage glue, and you can easily find that in a store. I'm looking to see if I have a big one around here. I don't have one handy, but I tend to use Mod Podge brand glue. You could also, if you really were in a pinch, use Elmer's glue. Just water it down a little bit. I really like the Mod Podge matte finish glue. If you like a little bit of a sheen, go ahead and get the satin finish, but the matte finish is really forgiving, especially if you're new to decoupage, because anything with a bit of a sheen shows every single brush stroke. So unless you're really good at it, you'll see all your brush strokes, right? So I always go with the matte finish, even though I'm a pretty experienced decoupager, professional, expert, some might say. You're gonna want the matte finish, and I just prefer the matte finish anyway. So having all of our things laid out here, I'm gonna tilt the camera down so that you can see what I am doing. Okay, so I have everything laid out here. I have my surface protected because let me just show you what's underneath when I don't protect my surface, right? And if you're doing this at your dining room table, you're for sure gonna wanna protect your surface. Okay, so I grabbed a little cup, and that's to put my Mod Podge glue in. The reason I highly, highly, highly suggest you get a little cup if you're working with a painted surface, which we could paint this if we wanted to. I'm not going to, just for time's sake, to keep it kind of easy for you. But if this was painted, let's say it was painted red, and then you come in here with your Mod Podge, right? And you're doing it, and then you dip back in your container of Mod Podge glue, you're going to contaminate it. You're now going to have pink tinted Mod Podge. Instead of it drying clear, it's going to dry with a pink tint. So unless you're okay with that and you want everything to turn pink, then great, go for it. Most people don't want to. So that's why I highly, highly, highly recommend that you go ahead and you put your Mod Podge glue in a separate container. So we're gonna do that right now. If it's too thick, you can always water it down. I always have my handy dandy squirt bottle here. This looks like it's a good consistency, so I'm just going to let that go. And then of course you always need to seal up your glue so it doesn't dry out, right? So put the lid back on of your Mod Podge. I just like to tell you little tips and hints along the way because I speak from experience. I've done all the things that I'm telling you not to do. So I'm trying to save you the headache, right? So with the clipboard, you could opt to paint it white. If you're going to paint it anything, especially if it's going to be under the decoupage paper, because it's a very thin paper. This particular one is printed on a rice paper. Don't know when you're watching this video. If it's a couple years down the line, I eventually am going to also offer the smaller sizes in the tissue paper. Right now I only have the very large poster size in tissue paper, but eventually my goal is to offer the smaller ones in tissue paper as well, because people have different preferences. But for right now, this is printed on rice paper. So we're gonna make sure that it fits first, right? And, oh, let me go back. So I was saying about painting it white. If you paint it white, your colors of your decoupage paper will remain very vibrant and very true. Let me just show you. Okay, so here it is against the brown, right? It just mutes it down a little bit. And here it is if I put white behind it. Do you see the difference? Even if I do it like half and half, do you see that? You can see the line. So depending on if you want your colors to stay true or if you don't, if it doesn't matter to you, then you can go ahead and just do it on top of the brown backing of the clipboard. Okay, you can choose to use a water brush and tear the edges, or you can just use a brush. Let me find the right size here. Just use a brush dipped in water. And let me just show you. The only thing with the dipping it in the water is that it just takes a little bit longer because you constantly have to go back and dip. So when you're using a water brush or a brush to tear your paper, I'm going to do it up here on the corner just so you can see. So I'm going to dip the brush in the water. I have water over here, right? So now my brush is wet and I'm just going to draw the line. Okay, so I'm just going to kind of make a line. A water brush would do the same thing, but it has a chamber that holds the water. I don't see my water brush here. Sorry. But anyway, it would just hold the water in the chamber so the brush is continually wet. Okay, so you can see the water soaked in, right, into a line, and then we're just going to gently tear. What this does is it helps provide a controlled tear for you, so it's not zigzagging all over the place, right? And the nice thing about these papers, whether it's tissue or rice paper, it has a nice fibrous edge. Let me get that in focus there. And you can see if you just kind of pull the fibers out, you can really see it. It's a nice soft edge. It looks really nice on its own. It's also really nice for if you are going to blend paint on your clipboard. Boy, I am having trouble thinking of words today. Oh boy, brain fog, big time. Anyway, so, but for this one, I actually think instead of keeping the background, I want to cut it out. Just for something different, right? And if you're doing the whole background, you can also leave it as a rectangle as well. If you're going to do that, you're going to want to make sure it fits, right? Again, speaking from experience, because look at this, it's too long. And if we got it all glued, you know, all with the glue on it and everything and ready to stick it on, and then we went, it's too long. We can fix that, but it's just so much easier if you check ahead of time that it's gonna fit where you want it, right? So you can trim this for a blunt edge, you can tear it for a soft edge, or you can do what I'm gonna do, and I'm gonna cut the whole bird out. Yes, I am. I don't want you to have to sit here and watch me cut, so we're gonna speed it up. Okay, so here's our little birdie. I just wanted to be real careful when I was cutting it out because this little birdie has some little feathers and details and things. You could cut them off, but I kind of like them. So I wanted to make sure that I got them all. All right, so then I'm going to decide on the placement on my board here. I have glitter everywhere. My last project, I did some glitter. So I could put them right smack dab in the middle. I kind of prefer to do things a little bit differently and put him off to the side just because that's where his branch goes. And I don't know, just I kind of like it. And he still is pretty close to the center, but this also offers me opportunity then later. I could come in and add words. I could paint some greenery if I wanted to. So you really can embellish it and make it look really, really nice. I love cardinals. I know they have really special meaning for some people. I just love them because you can leave them out all winter. They're not just a Christmas thing or a holiday thing. It's just nice because then you can put them out and leave them out, right? I like to not have to keep bringing decorations in and out. So anyway, this makes just a cute little place where you can put your shopping list or, you know, whatever it is. And honestly, you could leave it out all year long because, you know, it's a bird. Anyway, so I am now going to get, oh geez, there's glitter all over this too. Do you ever have that when you use glitter? It ends up everywhere. All right, I'm gonna get a new towel here. And because if you watched any of my other videos, you may have seen me say, okay, we're going to get our Mod Podge glue and we're going to put it on the surface and then we're going to stick the paper on. This, again, I speak from experience, is a very absorbent surface. So if you wanted to paint the surface with the Mod Podge glue, I would actually recommend that you do a coat over the whole thing. Do a coat, let it dry, and let that first coat soak in, right? And then do the second coat so that you could stick this on, because it's not going to soak in as quickly then. What I'm going to suggest we do, just to save some Mod Podge, because you're using extra Mod Podge then that you don't really need to, I'm actually going to suggest that we paint the back side, right, of our paper, of our cardinal, our trees, our wings, whatever it is that we're using. I'm going to paint the back side with a generous layer. We don't want it super thin because we want it to be able to adhere to the surface, but we don't want it so thick that when we put it down and we're smoothing it, it's squeezing out, right? So we're just going to paint, oh, glitter, it was on my bird. I guess maybe this is like a sign saying we need to add glitter. That might be kind of cute actually, to look like snow falling. Anyway, so we're going to go ahead and paint the back side with the Mod Podge glue. Let me put it so you can see it. Okay, and my brush. And I also like to wet my brush just a little bit so the bristles aren't super dry, because then they'll also soak up some of the Mod Podge. This is one of my favorite brushes, like the paint is literally falling off. But we want to make sure there's no paint on either surface because it will cause lumps and bumps. All right, so we're going to go ahead and paint it on. We're going to pay special attention to the edges because we want to make sure that our edges adhere properly and they don't come pulling back up. If they do, we can fix that, but it's always better to do it correctly the first time, if at all possible. Okay, so we're just going to get all the edges, all the back side here covered, and if any soaks in, just go back over it. But I think that looks pretty good. Okay. We are going to get our fingers messy. I forgot to tell you that. Sorry. I'm always getting my fingers glued and painted, so it doesn't matter to me. Okay, so we're going to get our clipboard here, our mini clipboard, and I'm going to put this exactly where I want it. Now, you want to try not to move it around too much because the glue will rub off and then you're not going to get the same adhesion as you would if all the glue were still on the back. I'm just going to gently use my fingers to rub this down. I just wanted to lift that up because it had a bit of a crease there. So I'm just going to use my fingers to rub it down. You could use a, oh my gosh, I am having such brain fog today. One of these has a felt edge and you can just gently make sure that it's all smoothed out for you. But it's not really necessary. If you just use your fingers, I like to do that because then I can feel if there's any lumps, bumps, anything like that. Now we're gonna wanna make sure that this is completely dry before we do the top coat, which is the next thing that we are doing. And we're going to top coat the entire surface from edge to edge, from bottom to top, with the exception of the metal clip here. So just to make this go a little bit faster, I'm going to hit it with the heat gun. If you have a hair dryer, you can certainly do that. The whole time I'm doing it, I'm going to keep rubbing my fingers over just to make sure that it's drying nice and flat. Because if our intended purpose is to put a piece of paper over this to make a shopping list, then we're going to make sure that it's nice and flat for us, right? So let's speed it up. Okay. So it's dry, except look, it lifted up a little bit. So easy fix, like I said, I'm just going to pull this up where it hasn't adhered and just add some more. I must have had it too thin there, right? And the same with my tail. My tail started to lift up. Like I said, if it starts to dry at all, it will lift up. So I'm just going to make sure it's nice and flat. And just hit it. Okay, then the next thing, now that it's all dry, the next thing we're going to do, like I said, is cover the entire surface. And I guess I should have used this because this is what your kit comes with. So I actually like to spray a little bit of water on it, get it a little wet, because otherwise, like I said, you'd be wasting Mod Podge. It's going to soak into the sponge, because that's what this is, right? And you're going to waste your Mod Podge, okay? All right, so this is nice because I can get a nice bit of the Mod Podge on my, and just go, like I said, edge to edge. Nice, smooth strokes, preferably. If you get any, like, that comes over the edge, just use your finger. If you're not afraid to get a little dirty. I always say true artists get messy, right? Not really dirty, we're getting messy. And I like to go back and forth both ways, and that's just to make sure that the edge is nice and sealed on both sides of the bird. I'm gonna lay this down because it's a little hard to do it while I'm holding it up in the air. And the nice thing about this particular project is you can see where I've done it and where I haven't, because it's soaking in. This one doesn't take very long to dry. I got a little piece of glitter. Oh. Again, I'm thinking we need glitter. I don't know, what do you think? I'm thinking the glitter would be the falling snow, right? Might be kind of cute. So anyway, I'm just going to keep going until I get all the way to the top. I'm not going to get it on the metal because there's no need to seal the metal. Nice smooth strokes. I'm even going to do it up here along the sides, just because it looks nicer. Even though I'm using the matte finish, it'll still have a different sheen than what the board itself has without any Mod Podge on it. Okay, so can you see what I've done? I got a little fingerprint here that'll easily come off once it's dry. So let's take a look at what I've done here, right? And it's soaking in at this particular moment. Some spots already look dry, but we are gonna look and kind of hold it up to the light. I like to do that and make sure, okay, I got everything. All right, then I'm going to hit it with the hairdryer or the heat gun again, and just keep smoothing it with my finger. Okay, so it's looking pretty dry. What do you think? Pretty cute, right? I made sure to rub it, made sure there were no lumps, bumps, wrinkles, or spots that were sticking up, okay? With anything that's going to get a lot of wear and tear, I always suggest 2 top coat layers. Just helps seal it up a little bit nicer. Or if you're just, you know, you're like, well, I'm not gonna use it a lot, but I have more Mod Podge left, then you can do a second layer. I'm going to do the second layer because this glitter keeps coming everywhere, right? And I've got a little bit of glitter here in my cup. I'm actually going to add some snow. You can do this, or you don't have to. If I add the snow, it's going to be up off of here a little bit, so I'm probably going to use this as a decoration more than I'm going to use it as a functional piece to do my shopping list on. But you can also do it on the back side as well, right? So what I'm going to do, I'm going to get, because I'm actually almost out of Mod Podge here, I'm just going to get a little bit more Mod Podge, and I'm going to do my second coat. The same way that I did the first coat. Okay, so while it's still a little bit wet, I'm going to go ahead and get my glitter. Again, this is a happy accident because this kept happening, and I'm thinking that I do need some snow on this, right? So I'm going to just put it around. I don't want to get too much on the bird itself because I don't want to cover my bird. But I just happen to have this handy from my last project. Okay, then I'm going to just turn it over and hit the excess off. And look how cute it is. Look how adorable that is, right? I'm next going to hit it with the hairdryer or heat gun again, and then whatever is still kind of loose, I'm going to brush it off. Okay, so once that's dry, anything that's left that hasn't blown off, I'm just going to gently take my hand and brush off any of the excess that doesn't really want to attach, want to stay, right? And I could go back over this then with a third coat of the Mod Podge sealer if I just wanted to make certain that the glitter would stay once I'm done. I just like to go over it like, you know, as if I was going to be using it. I want to make sure there aren't big loose pieces. This is like the flaky glitter. If you're using little tiny pieces, then it'll most definitely stay. Right? Oh, I'm loving it. You can even come back in with your brush. Trying to get some off, but just remember, you use this brush for glitter, you're going to need to wash it out. But what do you think? I think it's so cute. Can you see it? It looks like snow. And if you had painted this white, it really would pop as snow. But I kind of like the way the iridescent looks against the brown. Definitely cute. All right, before I get glitter all over everything else, I'm going to go ahead and leave this for now. I'll deal with that later. I'm going to get myself a new cover here. And like I said, you can go ahead and do another seal coat over top of the glitter to make sure that the glitter stays really nice. It should be glued on really nice if you put it on while the Mod Podge was still wet. And then to finish this off, again, I'm just customizing it. These are not things that are included in your kit, but most people have laying around their house. I thought it might be fun to put a little ribbon. It's a little snow ribbon, right? And I thought I might attach it at the top here. I think it'd be cute. Now, I'm going to warn you. I have 3 boys, so I'm not a bow tire. But I'm going to go ahead and give this a try here. I'm going to try to get the knot in the middle. So I'm not doing any big fancy bows. I just know how to do the little bows, right? But it's a mini clipboard, so a mini bow is probably appropriate, right? Let me get this tied up. I have a friend who's really good at bows. I should have asked her to make me a bow. Okay. I'm going to pull it back through a little bit so it's like a mini bow for a mini clipboard. Do it a little bit tighter. Just kind of mess with it a little bit till I get it looking the way I want. Heat gun is now cooled off. Sorry for all the noise. And I'm sure this could look much nicer if I fiddled with it a little bit more, but for the purpose of just showing you an option, right? I love options. So I have my little bow, right? My little mini bow. And then I can stick it on here with a little tack of glue. I can stick it in the middle. I can stick it off to the side. I think I kind of like it in the middle. So I'm just going to get a little bit of hot glue. I've had this heating. Put it in the middle here. And then tack it on. I'm going to tack it right to the top. And there you go. You just have your mini clipboard with your mini bow and your flaky snow. So hopefully you can think of different ways to embellish this. This was just one way. You certainly could leave it the way it was and just let it be the decoupage itself, because that's certainly pretty enough on its own. But if you want to embellish it, there's all different ways that you can do that. So hopefully this helps inspire your creativity. Thanks for joining me, and hopefully you're glad that you crafted with me. All right. And I'll see you next time. Happy creating!